Welcome to Salcedo Paranormal. It is Monday, November 7th, 2022, and tonight I will be covering paranormal news. As always, you can find all the episodes of the show, along with links to social media, ways to donate, and ways to contact me at the podcast page, and that is salcedoparanormal.podbean.com. That's SALSIDO paranormal.podbean.com. Always happy to hear from you all, whether you have comments or questions, or topic suggestions, or stories of paranormal experiences, whether they're your own or from others that you trust. Happy to either read those or have you join me on the show to talk about them. And tomorrow will be another book review, and then no, it will not be another book review. Tomorrow will be more true paranormal stories from the web. And then Wednesday will be another book review. Most likely some more of the complete fiction of Lovecraft. And then Thursday will be more of this, paranormal news. So that is the plans for the week. And I think with that, I can move on to today's episode. I've already put all the links to the articles I'll be talking about in the stream chat here. And of course, I will include them in the podcast and YouTube episode descriptions. Because as always, I can only get to so much when I'm talking about these articles. I just try to cover the most interesting points to me, and then it's up to you all if you want to dig deeper into them. So, thank you all for listening, whether you listen to the podcast or YouTube feeds, or you're able to make it to the live shows. And of course, the live shows are done exclusively through Discord. And so I definitely recommend checking out the server, joining the server, because especially for some of the shows, people will post images that are related to the show topic. So, and then of course you can be commenting on the show as I'm recording it, and I can include some of those comments into the discussions, and that always makes the show better. So, anyway, I think with that, I will get on to these stories here. So, this first one is from WREG.com, and this one is, let's see here. This one is, the title is Gatlinburg Restaurant Haunted by Ghost Bride Others. This is from Tennessee. And so apparently this is based on a legend, but there are reports of activity from what I'm able to gather here. And it says that back in the 1930s, the building itself was used by people just traveling. So basically it was a lodge. According to Saltz, Rachel Saltz. We'll just use, I guess, her first name for this, Rachel, who is the general manager of the Greenbrier restaurant, mentioned this. And she said there's one spirit, apparently, or person that never left the area, and her name is Lydia, according to the story here. And she was basically a bride, and or supposed to be a bride, but when she went to the when it came to the actual wedding, the groom never showed up. And so, as a lot of these legends go, she took her own life by hanging. So let's see here. So apparently, some people even claim to see the rope burns in the middle of the beam in the restaurant's bar. So let's see here. Now it turns out, according to the story, the fiance hadn't intentionally left, or the groom hadn't intentionally left her standing there. It had been a travel delay, um, and one by caused by an animal attack. So he actually physically could not have made it there. But sometimes people say they can hear and or see Lydia, the bride, um, on the property. Apparently, people that work there, um, when actually people that are working on the building itself, so I'm guessing renovation or construction, would hear um, this crying from this woman, apparently. So, um, but also there have been sightings. Some people say they've seen a woman on the stairs, and they turn around uh, and look more carefully, and there'd be no one there. Um, so let's see here. Let's see. I'm just looking here more. Um, at the apparently at the bottom of the the hill where this former inn was at. Um, let's see here. So they're going into more stories here, but there's also reports of a little boy who apparently passed away in a accident, drowning accident, who is said to haunt the restaurant too. Um, so people apparently have claimed to have felt the presence of this boy. Um, and so yeah, apparently there are some reports of activity there. But the good thing is, it says here in the article, the general manager doesn't believe it's um, a menacing haunting, which of course those kinds of places do exist where there's paranormal activity, but it's not out to get people because not everything is as it appears in Hollywood. So so yeah, just a neat little story here, and about this location, this restaurant that was a former lodge or inn. So thought that was a neat one to share, and I think with that I can move on to the next one. So let's see here. This next one is also about apparently another legend. Um, this time in uh, let's see here. It's in Buncombe County, North Carolina, and this is from let's see here. What's the okay? WLOS.com. The title is Historic Asheville Building Surrounded by Paranormal Phenomena, Mystery, and True Crime. So this this is in North Carolina. And let's see here. Just going through all the there's a bunch of text here. I'm in the reader mode. And okay, there we go. So this is a place called the Battery Park Hotel. At least part of it. At least part of the building. Who was where people were staying. And this is the story is about this let's see, 19-year-old girl staying with her uncle. And let's see here. They were in this hotel, and looking here into more detail. So, but one morning when the uncle asked for her to join her to join him for breakfast one morning, there was only silence coming from her room. And of course, when they found when they entered the room, they found the niece dead in the room, the woman dead in the room. Um, says there was a raging storm on the night before that, so if there had been any noise, it could have been easily drowned out by the storm. So maybe this might be the true crime part. It says police started to look into this, but quickly came to a dead end. Just partly due to the number of guests that already checked out of the hotel and left the area, left the state. And so let's see here. It's of course the story talks about how this was way before the time of podcast, but they were already true crime magazines. I didn't mention the date. Let me scroll back up and see if I can find this when this happened here. And just looking, still not really saying. That's weird. So but anyway, so I'm guessing, I mean, if it was just magazines at the time, then this was not anytime recently. So it mentions that there was pressure mounting on local authorities when someone came forward. It was a 19-year-old bellboy. Now let's see. The girl's name is Helen, and this bellboy's name was Martin. Their first names, anyway. And so this bellboy named Martin came forward and confessed to the crime. And it says after the speedy trial, he was executed. Let's see here. So there is this tour guide, haunted Asheville tour guide, says that their murder has left lasting effects in the region. So it's going into more detail here about the paranormal, the results of this apparently. So let's see. It has pictures, and I'm just going to. So these look like older pictures. So I'm guessing not from current times. But anyway, so after this whole thing happened, there have been a number of reports in the hotel in the area, talking about how in her room, the room of this young woman, around the anniversary of her death, so mid-July, it says, the window to her room will light up, even though that room at this point is not checked out anymore because of activity that guests have reported there, and which led to the hotel not renting out that room anymore. So that's one odd thing. Of course, that could be technically explained away, but you never know. That also doesn't mean it has to be a hoax or a marketing gimmick kind of thing. There's also a service elevator that will work by itself, and will go up and down in the middle of the night. And of course, the guests will complain about this to management, and management will send out a repair person. And after working on the elevator, the repair person will check on the elevator and say there's nothing wrong with it. And but then eventually that whole thing will happen again. And it says, according to this tour guide, first name is Tad, Martin used to operate that elevator as a bellhop employee. So this was back when you actually had people running these elevators, and so it's believed that that it's actually the spirit of this young man. And it goes into. So let's see here. So apparently this happened in the early 1900s, maybe 1920s, 1930s. Um, but so that's one story here. They have more. Mentions that there are other activities that happen there, weird things that happen there. Um, so just a interesting article. Apparently, they're talking about this like it's not just a legend, and I'm guessing if police got involved, then that's probably the case. So it's just with a lot of these stories, you never know. So often there are legends, um, and but then usually with those legends, you don't hear about the police getting involved. So still, of course, a horrible series of events there, but it does seem to, in some cases, lead to paranormal activity in locations. Of course, it's always hard to say if the if it's because the story is well known, or if it's because there are actually the spirits of these people there. It's always hard to say which is what's happening for sure. But anyway, that's that article there, and check it out for more pictures and more details on other apparently other paranormal activity going on in that hotel in that area. So let's see here. Let me get out of that one. This next article is about UFO sightings. This is from Fox32Chicago.com. This says Chicago area residents report UFO sightings earlier this month, and talks about how there's been a report saying that more than 4,100 people in Illinois have claimed to see UFOs in the past year, and mentions that the state is among the top 10 states for UFO sightings. So, and this is according to the National UFO Reporting Center, which is commonly known as Newfork, I believe. So it mentions that the most recent sightings were on October 8th, according to this article. There could be more since then. And they come from areas such as Crystal Lake, Arlington Heights, Quincy, and Libertyville. And so that's really, there's not much else in the article, just that mention of all these sightings. Goes into other topics from there. It's a pretty short article. But it's always neat to hear these reports and the numbers and all that. So a quick one there, but still, I think important to mark that when those kinds of articles show up. And another thing here, this next one I really found to be interesting, just because of the fact that it even came out, that this was even done. This is from einnews.com, and this says the title is "Does Meditation Increase Openness to and Experiences of the Paranormal?" And it says new study investigates. A new study investigates, and so this gets into a lot of numbers and those kind of things, scientific terms. But I'm just glad that this whole thing was done to begin with, and that it was reported on. So there are a lot of numbers in here, and I'm not going to get into a lot of that. But it does say that there have been meditation has become fairly well known, just because of reports of benefits that come with it. It says that meditation declutters the mind. It says it can help reduce stress, anxiety, improve sleep, and creativity, decrease blood pressure. So it goes into a lot of things here. But I'm just glad that they're looking at not just the almost, you could say, mainstream idea of meditation now, which is in a way wild in and of itself that that's happening. But now they're moving further along down that line, which is really good, I think, and really important. I hope these kinds of studies keep going. So, but and regardless of whether or not the rest of let's say mainstream academia or whatever want to acknowledge this or not, still at least it's happening. These kinds of things are happening. So that's all I wanted to point out for that one. And I have one more article here, almost in a similar category here. And this is actually from a website that I've shared a couple of articles from before. This is from today. Let's see. Today.ugov.com. I've shared a couple articles from this organization, and this one says 2/3 of Americans say they've had a paranormal experience or encounter. And so, let's see here. So this says that in a recent poll, 67% of Americans believe they've had at least one of 13 paranormal experiences, types of experiences that have been mentioned in these polls. It says half the number of people that have had encounters believe they have one of 7 paranormal abilities that are asked about, such as being able to hear voices or read minds. It says 1 in 3 people that have had a paranormal experiences say that they've lived in a house they believe to be haunted. So yeah, that goes into more detail here. Let's see here. There's actual numbers. It says 37% of Americans say they felt a presence or unknown energy. 33% of Americans say they've heard an unexplained sound or music. And they have little small stories about this here. Let's see here. It says 29% of Americans say they've heard the voice of someone who wasn't there. 28% of Americans say they felt an unexplained change in temperature. 1/4 of the people polled, Americans polled, say that they've seen lights or other devices turn on without explanation. So I'm just reading these headings here. 22% of Americans say they've seen an object move without explanation. 20% of Americans say they've seen doors open or close without explanation. Just reading these headings are really neat. So, but it goes into a lot more detail, and there's paragraphs after that. So I'll let you all look at the rest of that. But I'm just glad again that these kinds of polls are being done, and this kind of information is being put out there. And I'm happy to do that as well. I'll help with that in my own way. So that's all I have for stories for tonight. I see you all there in the stream and the listening in. Thank you so much for being here. And I'll be back tomorrow night with more true paranormal stories from the web. So thank you all again. And I will talk to you all tomorrow on the next episode of Salcedo Paranormal. Take care, everyone.